My name is JD. I'm 89 years old. 3 weeks ago, I was lying in a hospital bed, staring at white ceiling tiles, listening to a doctor tell me I had maybe 6 months left, maybe a year if I was lucky. My heart was failing. My children stood around my bed crying, already planning my funeral. And in that moment, lying there with tubes in my arms, I made a decision that would change everything. I bought a one-way ticket to Paris, alone, no return date, no tour group, no nurse. Just me and a suitcase I could barely lift. My son screamed at me. He said I was being selfish, reckless, that I'd die alone in some foreign hospital where nobody spoke English. My daughter cried and begged me not to go. But I looked at both of them and said something I should have said years ago. I've spent 70 years living for everyone else. I'm spending whatever time I have left living for me. The doctor said traveling could kill me. I said staying here already was. Now you're probably wondering, did I make it to Paris? Am I even alive to tell this story? Keep watching, because what happened next will change how you see the rest of your life. Let me take you back to understand why I did something everyone called crazy. For 70 years, I lived the life everyone expected. I married my high school sweetheart, Sarah, when I was 20. We had 3 kids by the time I was 30. I worked 60-hour weeks at a factory I hated because that's what fathers did. I showed up. I provided. I disappeared into responsibility. Sarah and I used to dream about traveling together. We had a jar in our kitchen labeled Paris Fund. Every week, we'd drop in whatever spare change we had. $5 here, $10 there. We dreamed of walking along the Seine, eating croissants in sidewalk cafes, getting lost in the Louvre. But life kept happening. The kids needed braces. The roof needed fixing. My mother got sick and moved in with us. Then Sarah's father had a stroke. The Paris Fund became the emergency fund. Our dreams became someday. Sarah died 4 years ago. We never made it to Paris. The jar sat on our kitchen counter for 40 years and we never went. Her last words to me were, "Promise me you'll go. Don't wait like I did." I promised, but I didn't go. I was too scared, too old, too tired. I told myself the dream died with her. Then came that hospital bed, that doctor's voice, 6 months, and suddenly, every excuse I'd ever made felt like a lie I told myself to feel better about being a coward. So I went. And on that plane, 30,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean, something happened that I didn't expect. I started crying. Not sad tears, I was terrified. What if my son was right? What if I collapsed in the airport? What if I died alone in a hotel room in a country where I didn't speak the language? But then I remembered something Sarah once told me during one of our hardest years. She said, "JD, being alive and living are two completely different things. Don't confuse the two." I'd been alive for 89 years, but I'd stopped living decades ago. If this story is hitting you in the chest right now, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Because what I'm about to tell you next will shake everything you thought you knew about fear, age, and freedom. I landed in Paris on a Tuesday morning. I could barely get my suitcase off the conveyor belt. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from exhaustion. The flight destroyed me. I sat on a bench in Charles de Gaulle Airport trying to catch my breath, wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. Then a young woman sat next to me. She was maybe 30, backpack, messy hair. She looked at me and smiled. "First time in Paris?" I nodded. I didn't trust my voice yet. She said, "Me too, I'm terrified." I looked at her. Young, healthy, full of life. "What are you scared of?" She laughed. "Everything. Getting lost, looking stupid, wasting money, regretting this trip." She paused. "What about you?" I looked down at my wrinkled hands. "Dying before I actually start living." She went quiet. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Then I guess we're both in the right place." We took a taxi together into the city. Her name was Emma. She was from Australia. She'd just quit her job, left her boyfriend, and decided to travel for a year. She said her whole family thought she was crazy. I told her my family thought the same about me. We ended up spending that whole first week together. She helped me navigate the metro. I bought her coffee and told her stories about Sarah. She reminded me what it felt like to be curious again, to want to see what's around the next corner. On our 4th day, we were walking along the Seine at sunset. Emma stopped and said, Jade, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you regret waiting this long? I thought about it, really thought about it. Every single day, I said. But I'm here now, and that's what matters. She smiled, tears in her eyes. I needed to hear that. That's when I realized something. This trip wasn't just about me fulfilling a promise to Sarah. It was about proving to myself that it's never too late, that your life isn't over just because you're old. That freedom doesn't have an expiration date. But then, on day 8, everything fell apart. If you've ever felt like you were too old, too late, or too scared to chase a dream, drop a comment below and tell me what's stopping you. Because what happened next almost stopped me forever. I woke up in my hotel room and couldn't breathe. My chest felt like someone was standing on it. I tried to sit up, but the room spun. I reached for my phone, but my hand wouldn't work right. I fell out of bed and hit the floor hard. I thought, this is it. This is how it ends. Alone in a Paris hotel room, my son was right. But then I heard pounding on the door. JD! JD, open up! It was Emma. I tried to yell, but nothing came out. She kept pounding. Then I heard the door crash open. She must have gotten the front desk to unlock it. She dropped to her knees next to me. Oh my God, hold on, just hold on. She called an ambulance. Held my hand the whole time. I remember looking up at her and thinking, I'm so glad I'm not alone. I spent 3 days in a French hospital. Turned out I hadn't taken my medication properly. The time zone change, the exhaustion, the excitement. It all caught up to me. The doctor said I was lucky. Another hour and I might not have made it. Emma stayed with me the whole time. She missed her train to Italy, canceled her plans, just sat in that hospital room, reading to me in terrible French, making me laugh even though it hurt to breathe. When I finally got released, I told her, you should go. You've already wasted enough time on an old man. She looked at me like I'd said the dumbest thing in the world. JD, this isn't wasted time. This is the whole point. What do you mean? I came to Europe to find something real, something that matters, and I found you. She squeezed my hand. You taught me that it's not about how much time you have. It's about what you do with it, I cried, right there in that hospital room. Because for the first time in 4 years, I didn't feel alone. We left the hospital together. And instead of going home like everyone told me to, I made another crazy decision. I asked Emma if she wanted to keep traveling with me. Slow, careful, one city at a time, she said yes. If this story is making you feel something, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the next part is where everything I thought I knew about life got flipped upside down. Emma and I spent the next 2 months traveling together. We went to small towns in southern France. We sat in cafés for hours, doing nothing but watching people. We got lost on purpose. We ate bread and cheese for dinner because that's all we wanted. People stared at us everywhere we went. An 89-year-old man and a 30-year-old woman traveling together. I'm sure they thought we were strange. Maybe they thought she was my granddaughter. Maybe they thought something worse. I didn't care anymore. She taught me how to use Google Maps. I taught her how to slow down and actually see things instead of just taking pictures of them. One night, we were in a tiny village in Provence. We'd rented a little room above a bakery. The smell of fresh bread woke us up every morning. Emma was sitting by the window looking out at the stars. Jade, she said quietly, what was Sarah like? Nobody had asked me that in years. Everyone avoided talking about her, like mentioning her name would break me. I sat down next to her. She was the kind of person who made you feel like you mattered, like your life meant something. I paused. She laughed at my terrible jokes. She believed in dreams I was too scared to chase. She was better than me in every way. She sounds amazing. She was. Emma looked at me. Do you think she'd be proud of you for doing this? I thought about it, really thought about it. Yeah, I said, I think she would. Emma smiled. Good, because I'm proud of you too. That's when it hit me. This whole trip, I thought I was doing it for Sarah, to fulfill a promise, to make up for lost time. But really, I was doing it for me. To prove that my life wasn't over, that I still had something left to give, that I could still surprise myself. And somewhere along the way, I'd stop being scared. But then came the phone call that almost ended everything. Comment below if you've ever had to choose between what everyone expected and what your heart needed. Because what I did next changed my family forever. My son called. His voice was cold, angry. Dad, you need to come home. Now why? What happened? Nothing happened. But this has gone on long enough. You're embarrassing yourself. Embarrassing us. You're 89 years old, dragging some girl around Europe like you're 20. It's pathetic. His words hit me like a punch. She's not some girl. Her name is Emma, and she's my friend. Dad, listen to yourself. You're sick. You need to be home where we can take care of you. I don't need to be taken care of. I need to live. You're being selfish. I paused, took a deep breath. You're right. I am being selfish, and for the first time in my life, I'm okay with that. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. Emma walked in. Everything okay? No, I said, but it will be. I realized something in that moment. My kids loved me, I knew that, but they loved the version of me that stayed small, that stayed safe, that needed them. They didn't know what to do with a father who wanted more. And I had a choice. I could go home, sit in my chair, and wait to die to make them comfortable. Or I could keep living, even if it made them uncomfortable. I chose to keep living. Emma and I kept going. We went to Italy. We sat in the Colosseum and talked about history. We went to Greece and watched the sunset over Santorini. Every day was slower than the last. Every day was more beautiful. And then, one morning in a little cafe in Athens, something happened that I'll never forget. An old man sat down at the table next to us. He looked at me and smiled. You remind me of myself 40 years ago. How's that? I asked. I spent my whole life working, saving, planning for someday. And then my wife died, and I realized someday never comes unless you make it come. He pointed at Emma. Is this your daughter? No, I said. She's my friend. He nodded. Lucky man, to have a friend like that at your age. I am lucky. He leaned in. Can I give you some advice? Please. Don't stop. Whatever you're doing, don't stop. Because the moment you stop moving, you start dying. He stood up, shook my hand, and walked away. I never saw him again, but his words stayed with me. Don't stop moving. If this story is reminding you of a dream you gave up on, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what it is. Because I'm about to tell you how this all ends, and I promise, it's not what you think. 3 months into my trip, I got another call. This time it was my daughter. She was crying. Dad, I'm sorry. Sorry for what, sweetheart? For not understanding, for making you feel like you had to choose between us and your happiness. I closed my eyes. You don't have to apologize. Yes, I do. I was scared of losing you, but I realized something. I'd rather you be happy and far away than miserable and close. I love you, I said. I love you too, Dad, and I'm proud of you. We talked for an hour. She told me about her life, her marriage, her kids. And for the first time in years, it didn't feel like she was checking on me. It felt like she was actually talking to me. After we hung up, Emma looked at me. Feel better? Yeah, I said. I really do. That night, Emma told me she was thinking about going home. Not because she wanted to, but because she felt like she needed to figure out her own life. I understood. I told her I was thinking the same thing. We spent one last week together in Rome. We saw the Trevi Fountain. We ate too much pasta. We laughed until we cried. And on our last night, sitting on the Spanish steps, she turned to me and said, Jade, thank you. For what? For showing me that it's never too late to start over. That being scared is okay. That life doesn't end just because you get older. I smiled. You showed me the same thing. We hugged. And the next morning we went our separate ways. She flew back to Australia. I flew home. But here's the thing. I didn't go home to die. I went home to live differently. I started volunteering at a community center, telling my stories to anyone who'd listen. I reconnected with old friends I'd ignored for years. I even started planning my next trip, because that old man in Athens was right. The moment you stop moving, you start dying. And I'm not done moving yet, so here's my message to you. If you're sitting there thinking you're too old, too late, too scared, stop. You're not. Your life isn't over until you decide it is. And every single day you wake up is another chance to choose differently. Don't wait for someday. Someday isn't real. Start today. book that ticket, make that call, take that risk. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about your own life differently, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling me what dream you're finally going to chase, because we're all running out of time. The only question is, what are you going to do with the time you have left? My name is JD. I'm 89 years old, and I'm just getting started. Where are you going?